Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. A lot has been said concerning the issue of restructuring. Voices has been lent to that effect as well. Don't forget that the likes of the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, I'm talking about Pastor Adejare Enoch Adeboye, had also said something about restructuring. Malam Nisa El-Rufai has also lent his voice on the issue of restructuring. But the latest governor, who have also decided to speak, and everybody seems to be shouting the same restructuring, is none other than Rotimi Akeredolu, and he's speaking vehemently over the same issue of restructuring. But the question is, one may wonder, why is everybody clamoring for restructuring all of a sudden? Don't forget that we are going to look through this issue of restructuring in a broader spectrum, because we're going to look at also the advantages and disadvantages of restructuring in the Nigerian context. Yes, this whole thing is staring at us in the face, and we need to look at the pros and cons before we begin to lend our voice fully on the same matter. Don't also forget that people are beginning to send in their proposal to the Senate, to the that's National Assembly, over the issue of restructuring and perhaps also referendum. But before we go into the news proper for the analysis, we'd like you to subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button. Beside it, you see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. Well, the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum, I'm talking about Rotimi Akeredolu, senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, has reiterated his call for the restructuring of the Nigerian Federation as a sure path to unlocking and harnessing the nation's full potential. Akeredolu, who is the governor of Ondo State, said this in his remarks at the 39th Annual National Scientific Conference of the Association of Community Pharmacists of Nigeria, where he was honored as the association's worthy ambassador in Abuja late on Tuesday. He said, "There's no doubt that the country experiences serious socio-economic challenges in virtually every part. While a sizable chunk of this problem is attributed to the global crisis, there are others which call our attention urgently to an appraisal of the fundamental issues which define nations. It is unprofitable to resort to facile description of the current upheavals in Nigeria without looking at the factors which militate seriously against our quest for nationhood. We must analyze these issues with a view to determining the workability of the current structure. We must seek solution to the endemic problems bedeviling the country. The overdependence on oil revenue is retrogressive. Modern economies don't thrive on monolites. The country must pay more than paying attention to the issue of diversification. In addition, the federating unit should progressively assume distinctive identities discernible in the economic activities peculiar to them, for which they are best suited to undertake. That's economics advantage, comparative advantage, which is also very good. The current situation promotes indolence and kills ingenuity, which is also true. Every part of the country must be encouraged to develop according to its potential. There must be desirable and deliberate devolution of responsibility to the state. Earlier, the national chairman of the association, Dr. Samuel Adekola, said, "The unrivaled development of the health sector since creation in 1976 by the Akeredolu administration in Ondo State and the governor's appointment as a worthy ambassador." All right, I concur. Some persons are already saying already, but let's look at this very critically. Looking at the Nigerian context, well, if you look at what Akeredolu, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu said, he didn't use the word restructuring, but everything he described is all about restructuring. Now, looking at the case study of Nigeria now, normally, Nigeria, the way it was created by right, ought to look like a federating unit, where each region takes what he has comparative advantage over, like what he just said, where those Niger Delta that seem to have oil and they want to dwell on oil, they can decide to go ahead and do the oil. That's Niger Delta, or rather the South region. I think most of the South region have oil, except for probably Cross River State, whose oil was ceded to Cameroon during the Bakassi saga. If not, I think Cross River should have been among the oil producing states. But right now, I think they don't have any oil wells. But most of the Niger Delta states, most of the southern states have oil in domicile in their wells or in their region. Additionally, we have Imo, we have Anambra, though they've not been included in quantity. They've not been included because of the commercial quantity. The Department of Petroleum, is yet to give them commercial licensing. But yes, they have oil in their region, in their state. They will also look at Ondo State. Ondo State is also an oil producing state. But looking at all this, we can give the South region as a region for oil production. Then we can look at the Southwest. Southwest have their strengths as well. We can look at what they have comparative advantage over. Like in Lagos State, is majorly very industrialized. We have the seaport in Lagos, the Tinkan Island for one, Apapa Wharf for another. Then we have in Warri, in Delta State, we have One, we have so many seaports, that we can bring in. These are things we should also consider. Now we look at the North. Several regions have their comparative advantages over. We should look at them and begin to restructure. But the challenge we are having right now is not that we can't restructure. We actually can restructure, but we need everybody, all hands to be on deck. But my major challenge over this issue of restructuring, very realizable, very realistic, is the fact that if we allow corruption as it is right now, it's a serious issue. It's so serious that it seems as if every sector, every arm of the government is caught up with it already. Now imagine allowing this corruption at this level to migrate itself in regional level. Who's going to checkmate who? All right, then now you begin to, the power you've given to the center, to the central, will now be ceded to the states. Now imagine the whole governors having a say. The center does not have a say over their life, over what they run, how they run the state. Imagine them having that power, that autonomous power to siphon money. Imagine not just the governor, I'm talking about leaders, politicians generally, having that power to, they're now saying, center, mind your business. We in this region, however we want to run it, who is going to checkmate what? And that's what Omoyele Sowore was trying to say all along. So look, if we decide to break out, if we decide to secede out, if we decide to form full restructuring, we're going to magnify the issue of corruption in our various regions. How do we curb corruption now before we now migrate to restructuring? Because imagine a situation where at this stage we're finding it difficult to bring our politicians who are corrupt to book. Imagine where nobody now has that power. The center has no power to bring them to book, and they're now like the president in their region. Who's going to bring them to book? Same thing with all the various arms of government. So we need to, firstly, while we are restructuring, we need to begin to amend a lot of things in our constitution, beginning from also corruption bills, all those corruption, anything that has to do with corruption. Anyone caught in corruption practices, anyone aiding and abetting it, there should be death by hanging. Same thing with kidnapping. Anyone caught in it, so that by the time you're moving into restructuring, with the law being fully spelled out and the constitution fully amended, and we now move into restructuring, it's a bit easier to bring all our erring politicians to book. But the question is, will they do it? Everybody is clamoring for restructuring. Will it be allowed? A lot of persons have spoken concerning the issue of restructuring, but it will help a great deal to help us come out of this whole restructuring we find ourselves in, and to also help to create innovativeness, ingenuity, to help all the people who are leaders, politicians who have been assigned to lead their various sectors, their various states. They'll begin to look inwards. All right, how do I generate income? There's no more we're no more in spoon feeding level anymore. Now I need to generate income. To that way, people, the populace, the electorate will begin to see how incompetent every state leader is, be it in their legislative or their judiciary or even the executive. Then it should be easier also. They should also make impeachable offenses practicable, you begin to see Nigeria will begin to function well. But before we get to that level of restructuring, I also believe that there should be amendments of some laws so that anyone who's guilty should be jailed immediately. That way, it will not be encouraged. Corruption will not be encouraged anymore. But then, it's up to our leaders, it's up to our politicians, it's up to our lawmakers to look into this issue of glamoring for restructuring, because the truth be told, if restructuring is not allowed or is slow pedaled, two things are involved. A lot of persons will begin to, they've started glamoring for secession. You can't stop anybody who wants to secede out of a country that they believe is not functional not to go. But that's what we're going to wrap it up. Let's meet in that comment section. What's the take on what Governor Akeredolu